Welcome to the Reluctant Leader Podcast. My name's Paul Jenkins, and I had something happen last week that reminded me of Proverbs 18:21 that says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. And today, I want to just share with you how what was spoken to me caused me to take action. It's a powerful lesson that all of us in leadership desperately need to know so that we can continue to lead the people that are following us. We need to lead them well. So thanks for joining me. Let's jump in. Proverbs 18:21 in the New Living Translation says, "The tongue can bring death or life." What we say has an effect on who we say it to. Let me say that again. What we say has an effect on who we say it to. Because that's true, we should think carefully about what we say. Matthew 12:36, Jesus is talking, and he said this, "But I tell you that everyone will have to give an account on the day of judgment for every careless word they have spoken." That word careless in the Greek means empty and barren. It literally means unable to give birth, unable to produce life. And as leaders, we need to speak words that cause life to be birthed in the ones we are speaking to. Listen to this statement. That means we need to speak to potential more than just speak to the problem. Let me say that again. We need to speak to the potential more than just to the problem. Imagine the effect of a parent always telling a child how he or she has messed up. Eventually, the words that child is hearing become a belief about identity more than a statement about activity. The parent says, "You messed up again." But what the child hears is, "I'm a person who could never do the right thing." The parent focuses on the activity, but the child interprets it as a statement about identity. Y'all, it's the same in our leadership. What we speak, when we speak about activity, people begin to hear it and they internalize it as a statement about their identity. Ephesians 4:29, this is the verse that I quote often on the podcast because it's such a great reminder to all of us, especially those of us that are in leadership roles. And I want to remind you, all of you that are listening are in a leadership role. Everyone is leading someone. So all of us need to pay attention to this verse. Paul writes in Ephesians 4:29, "Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths." And we usually hear that as stop cussing, y'all, right? But he's not just talking about curse words. Listen to the rest of the verse. "But only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen." We need to say what is helpful to the one we're speaking to, words that will build that person up. So you could almost say, according to that verse that Paul wrote, that unwholesome talk is more than just telling an off-color joke, right? Unwholesome talk is talk that doesn't benefit the other person. When we say things that tear people down, that's unwholesome talk. So listen to Proverbs 15:23 in the New Living Translation. "Everyone enjoys a fitting reply. It is wonderful to say the right thing at the right time." And I can also say that it's wonderful to hear the right thing at the right time. And that brings us full circle back to what prompted me to do this episode of the podcast. I was at a workshop last week for ministers in our denomination, in our area. And during a break, another pastor walked up to me, stuck his hand out, shook my hand, smiled, and said something along the lines of, "I love your podcast. I just recently subscribed." And then he turned and walked away. Hebrews 10:24 in the New Living Translation says, "Let us think of ways to motivate one another to acts of love and good works." And guess what I did? I came home from that meeting fired up the equipment and recorded this episode. That simple statement from that pastor was full of life, and it birthed in me a desire to hit record. And so to my new subscriber, and you know who you are, I just want to say thank you for saying the right thing at the right time. To all the rest of us, can I just encourage us to remember what we say has an effect on who we say it to. So choose to be a person who delivers life instead of death. Well, it kind of goes without saying that I hope my words about how words encourage us have encouraged you. And if they have, I'd love to hear about it. You can send me a message. You can email me. You can subscribe, comment, leave a review, rate this podcast. Share it with somebody that you know needs to be encouraged today. Somebody that you know has spoken life to you and say, hey, here's a podcast. I want you to listen to this episode because this is what you do for me. That encouragement might be exactly what they need to hear. No matter where you are in your leadership, no matter how many people you're leading, if you're leading yourself, your family, an organization, I want to encourage you that if you will keep giving God your yes, He will take care of the rest. He always does. And I can't wait to share another episode with you next time here on the Reluctant Leader Podcast.